I don't even. I guess we're talking about the House of Dragon today.
I think we can do it.
But you saw it though, right? You're not just excited, right?
I'm both. I saw it and I'm excited. Did you see it?
No. Get it together.
Come on, Juan.
Who is this guy?
It's the one and only who didn't watch The One of Thrones.
The Wand of Thrones?
I don't know. I tried. It was my attempt. All right, guys. So we are talking about the new Game of Thrones prequel, The House of Dragon.
Bringing that heat. I'm going to go on record and say, spoiler alert.
Big Game of Thrones fans here. So this was exciting for us. I think there was a little bit of apprehension. I think in general when prequels are coming out, there's apprehension, right? Because the idea that you know the end game is it kind of can ruin it a little bit. But this is what 200 years in the past, and so it almost doesn't. It's not necessarily connected, but it's connected enough that you're like,
Yeah.
But like you don't know what's happening.
My apprehension, if I had any apprehension, it was in the way Game of Thrones itself ended.
Yeah,
I was like,
the bitter
what else
taste.
can you do to this?
Yeah, like how bad those last couple episodes, that last entire season was just bad. It
Yeah.
left me with a bitter taste in my mouth, and so I think that there was that little bit of kind of like, is this going to just continue to suck?
And I heard the sound of thundering hooves, splintering shields and ringing swords. And I placed my heir upon the Iron Throne. And all the dragons roared as one.
So if you recall, when Game of Thrones started to suck, it's when they ran out of the source material, George R. R. Martin's books. This is an actual book that he wrote called Fire and Blood. Now it's based 300 years before Game of Thrones started. They shaved off 100. I don't know why.
I thought it was 200. What?
In the book it says 300 on the cover. It literally says 300.
And they just chose to give us 100?
They went with 200.
You have the blueprint.
it's right there. Just stick to it. Anyways, and from what I understand, George R. R. Martin is actually decently involved in this one, which is cool. And so that is going to be interesting because it felt like anytime he was involved, it was better. It is a deep dive into House of Targaryen. Those are the white-haired dragon people who can't be killed by fire.
And we hear about them all the time in Game of Thrones. The stadium used to be filled with dragons. House Targaryen is unstoppable from everything you hear. The last king in Game of Thrones before the current king that we have, he was a Targaryen.
Yep.
The only thing that can take a Targaryen down is a Targaryen, and that's what we're about to get into.
And so this is like the height of the Targaryen rule. Everything is great. Everyone is happy. There's no war. There's nothing. It is all peace. And we see that this is obviously about to fall apart. The idea being that the king, who is played by Paddy Considine, is unable to produce a male heir. He has a daughter, and he's married, and his wife is pregnant, and maybe there's going to be a male heir, but who knows? And so that's kind of the impetus of all the issues, right? Then you got Matt Smith, who is the Doctor Who since 2005. He is Daemon Targaryen. He is the brother of the king and has a claim. There's also a female queen who has a claim, and you can see the brewing of like this massive civil war that's potentially about to happen.
Like they say in the show, like the only thing that can take a Targaryen down is another Targaryen.
Yeah.
They're trying to avoid a civil war. It seems like the sister just kind of lets it go.
Yeah,
the
it
brother,
does feel like she's like, okay. She's like doing the peaceful move.
Yeah, I can play the long game.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to be here forever. Whereas the brother, he's a little more
hot-headed.
He's lashing out more.
He's like, by the way, the perfect Game of Thrones person. He's angry. He's violent. He likes politics. He's quirky. He likes sex. Like, it's everything that is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, if you were to take Game of Thrones and be like, and throw out the zombies and just like put it into one single person, it's like Daemon Targaryen.
So let's get into that first. Expanding from your thoughts on the first episode, what are your thoughts on the rest of the series? How do you think it's going to go?
So to start, I went in with some apprehension. I think I should say that my expectations were like not Game of Thrones at its height, expectations, but it was kind of somewhere below because of how bad it ended. And I thought that this episode just blew it away. I thought it was fantastic.
Okay.
I loved the character development. I thought it was beautifully shot. I loved the violence, the unnecessary gore. There's dragons. There's no zombies. The Targaryens are the most interesting family, and it's all about them. Like by the end of one episode, I was invested in like 5 characters.
Yeah, and that is the telltale of a good show.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the pilot. Like this
Yeah.
was just episode 1. What about you? What do you think?
I love that the very first frame in this entire movie was a sequence with the dragon flying. It
Yeah.
was like all the higher ups were like, we know what you came here
Yeah,
for.
exactly. It's like they went to all like the Reddit like forums and just read everything, and they were like, all right, get rid of the zombies, get rid of the winters coming, and we're just gonna do dragons and gore and sex.
Dragons, gore, sex, bash a dude's brains in.
I also like that they threw in the Game of Thrones music, but like not exactly, right? It's in there. You can hear it's like ba 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 ba, but it's like it's mixed in. It's like a remix of it.
They did the Star Wars
but you
thing.
know it, yeah, exactly. And I'm just so happy that there weren't the White Walkers.
We don't need those yet. They did hint to them. So like if you look at Game of Thrones, all that White Walker stuff, and they go to like how they originated and all that. That's like before even this show.
Yeah.
And so that like at the very end, they're like even the Targaryens knew back at that point. So I wonder when they lost that secret. But he talks to his daughter.
did
He's
talk
like,
about the
"There
winter's
is-
coming."
The winter's coming. It's on its way. This thing exists. That's why we're here to protect.
But if that's
us
like a
from it."
nod and that's what it is, I'm fine with that. I just can't deal with more White Walkers that just like slowly plod. Like
What
slowly-
was that? Honestly, there was like 1 second of him actually fighting that you're like, oh, okay. So when he finally starts to fight, like it was when he
Yeah.
threw the spear at the dragon.
Yeah.
And that was the only action you saw out of him.
But then all the other time it's just like him just like standing on a horse like.
Can we talk about his useless bodyguards too?
Yeah.
His bodyguards, one swing each. It was literally just Jon Snow with his one giant sword. He's just like,
That's it.
all right, next one, please.
Yeah, and we're done with this long storyline. Anyways, that's the other show, and I don't want to get into it. I also think that it is potentially killing the narrative that prequels aren't good. I mean, there's one other show, I think, there's a few, but of mainstream media that is starting to help kill the theory that prequels are not good, Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
I think this is right there with it. And if it does well, we might get some interesting prequels.
No matter what I think about the show, their productions are always massive. I think I
Yeah.
read somewhere they're always like $4 million or something.
Production
like
was
that.
fantastic.
so
They used a
they're-
lot of wide angles. You notice a lot of fisheye?
Yeah.
I actually wanted to yell at whoever was in charge of the filmography team, because you can actually see the ripple on the sides
Yeah.
from the curvature of the lens in a few scenes. It's like, fix that, bro. Come on now.
What are you looking forward to? There's like
Oh.
so like for me, we had House Valeria, so we're gonna see where like Valerian steel comes from.
Yeah, that'd
that's
be
like
cool.
I'm looking forward to seeing.
I'm excited to see, what the factions are, how they fight. Like, is it gonna be dragons on dragon fight? Like, are we gonna see just like massive battles between dragons, or is it gonna be a little bit more in the jousting level of type of civil war?
I hope it's dragons on dragons. That's what we came here to see. So
Yeah. Also, I'm curious what the whole legion thing on the king's back was.
yes.
That's gonna be something to watch. He's definitely gonna die from some weird sickness.
Well, that's why he was like so quick to like. That's why they were on him about picking an heir. They know something's
Yeah,
up.
something's going on, yeah. Also, we will say, from our understanding, the girl is not going to be queen.
Exactly, because Khaleesi's entire thing was she was the first queen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the double-edged sword of a prequel, is you kind of know how it's going to end. That's how, like, I'm a giant Star Wars nerd. I know every Star Wars movie, if it's a prequel, I know how it's going to end because, like, we've been to the future already. So that kind of sucks. But.
That's one, but it's such a minor thing. I think, so in terms of future, looking at the show, I think it's going to be great. I think that we're looking at a show that some people are, it's not going to be better than Game of Thrones because that's just a lot.
Debatable.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be, it's like the Better Call Saul versus Breaking Bad. I really think that there are going to be people that are going to be making that argument.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity, and this is probably exactly what the show is going to do. Because we got introduced even to the Lannisters. They're not a big house yet. They're still a small house.
Yeah.
So right now what we're looking at is, number one, I think this is going to be a really good show, but we're looking at an opportunity to build an entire universe now. We get to see eventually how the Lannisters rose to where they're at.
Yeah.
The Starks, they announced themselves in the movie. They were actually already kind of a big house. So there was a point where the Starks were bigger than the Lannisters, if you see it.
Oh, and you see like the little guy in the tree throughout the entire episode?
Little guy in the
Little
tree.
face in the tree.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just like all these cool, interesting little hints that got me excited. I think we're going to be able to see those worlds being built in these little, like, Easter eggs start to become actual massive parts of the entire story.
It's all getting woven together. All the rules of this universe have already been written in one show. Now we get to play with them, and that's the fun part.
It's very
We're
cool.
avoiding one scene that we should talk about.
Oh my god. There's a reason why we're avoiding it. It's like talking about the red wedding, the scene that you're talking about, which is obviously the labor scene, which is one of the most gruesome scenes I've ever seen in television.
Yeah.
Like literally top 2 or 3.
Gotta be up there. You can literally see the dude's hand in her stomach.
And then pull it.
I'm literally on my couch curled up in a ball, just like, please make it stop. At the end of that sequence, and he's holding the baby, and I heard that baby like burp or make a weird noise. He literally goes like, ooh. And I'm like, oh no.
That was a bad scene.
That's Game of Thrones.
That was Game of Thrones.
They had to remind you who they are.
Yep, and they did. So, ratings, I thought it was a 9.
Thought the episode was 9?
I thought the episode was a 9.
I thought the episode was exactly what it needed to be. I'd be willing to give it a 9. I'm looking really, really forward to the rest of the show.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to review every single episode. That'd be ridiculous. But we are going to probably do a season 1 recap. Let us know your thoughts if you have seen episode 1. What your thoughts on the episode were. If you are thinking about seeing it, let us know why you haven't watched it. We're curious. But overall, yeah, what's wrong with you? But overall, very, very happy.
Oh, you haven't seen it? I forgot.
Yeah.
Psychopath.
One, we weren't even talking directly to one. He took that to heart. Anyways, that's us. That's Movie Talk today, talking about House of Dragon, episode 1. Pretty good.
It was fire.